Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our third installment of our workshops of the class of 2025. We're going to just wait a few minutes as we have many of our families joining us, so we'll just take a few minutes to get everyone in and settled, and we welcome you to tonight. We'll just give another few minutes. Just welcome to everyone who's just joining us. We're just going to pause for a few minutes and just allow more of our visitors to come, and then we'll get started. We'll just give one more minute and then we'll begin the program. Just gonna close my door. Just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna close my door. Oh, we have a session tonight. All right, I'm back. All right, well, we'll get ourselves started. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to our third workshop series for the class of 2025. My name is Paul Brannigan. I'm the proud principal of Middleborough High School. I'm in my 25th year at the high school, and my 9th year as the principal, and it is the greatest job I've ever had. We welcome you tonight as we are hoping that these workshop series, our very first one that we had was with our current 9th graders. So you're able to have that perspective of the 9th grade and their experience of transitioning into the high school only so many weeks ago. And then last Monday night was the perspective of many of our faculty. And tonight is really, really exciting for me because I'm going to have the opportunity to connect with and to talk with and to really share with you some really outstanding young women who really are the leaders within our school and the senior class. And really their perspective as well, as they're in the process of completing their final lap towards graduation day in June. And we note the fact that tonight, as our 8th graders and your parents and your guardians, that for many of you, that you are in the process of making a decision. And we know that the transition to high school is by far one of the most important transitions that a child can take. And at the high school, we really work hard to pay really close attention to that. And that's why we're really excited to bring this presentation to you. So, and what's really quite exciting, and for the seniors, I know the fact that when we move into the new high school, you'll be in there for just a short period of time. And most of your story has taken place here in the current building that I'm sitting in now. But for the rising 9th graders, for the class of 2025, they're going to be the very first class to go all 4 years in the new facility, which is really quite awesome. So it will be really nice to have this group be the one to lead the charge that they will spend their entire journey in that new building and the new campus as well. So just some exciting information that's there as well. But here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to get started with our panel tonight to introduce themselves and to just share a little bit about what you have done at the high school and the roles that you play, and just really even maybe what your favorite class has been since in your journey at the high school. And for our visitors tonight, get ready for a really wonderful conversation tonight. That the 5 people that are here are really quite awesome. So Mandy, we're going to start with you to introduce yourself. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Bran. My name is Mandy, and I'm the senior class president. All throughout high school, I've played 3 sports, and my senior year, I'm a 3-sport captain of soccer, basketball, and softball. I've done student council since freshman year, and it's one of my most favorite things that I've done at the high school. It's a great way to get involved and meet new friends. I love science and math, so definitely my favorite classes at the high school were AP Chemistry and AP Calculus, which I took last year with 2 of my favorite teachers, Mrs. Levy and Mr. Chamberlain. It was a really great way to challenge myself while also kind of figuring out more of what I want to do when I'm older. So there are so many different things you can do at the high school and so many different roads you can take. And I'm really excited that you guys are all here just to learn more about why I love the high school so much. So thank you.
Mandy, thank you and welcome. We'll go to the vice president. Welcome, Eden. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Eden. I am the vice president of our class. I've been part of STUCO for 4 years. I'm the captain of the volleyball team for the past 2 years. I've done track. Our school also offers unified track and unified basketball, which is a really fun way to get involved with all different schools and different kids. I'd have to say my favorite class would probably be anatomy or bio because I want to go to school for physical therapy. And I find it really cool how our body works together. So I'd probably have to say anatomy and bio.
Great. Awesome. Welcome, Eden. Emily, we're going to turn it over to you. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm the senior class treasurer. I'm really excited to talk tonight and share some moments with the high school. I love this school and I'm really happy to be a part of the class board. I play 3 sports as well. I play soccer, basketball, and I do track, and I'm basketball captain this year. My favorite class is probably junior year when I took AP Lang and AP History. Both those classes were very challenging but so rewarding at the same time. And just working hard and getting the results at the end of the year was just a really good experience for me. And the teachers were so supportive along the way, and I really learned so much.
Awesome. Great. Welcome tonight, Emily. Leanne, we'll turn it over to you. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Leanne. I'm the senior class secretary. I'm also on the National Honor Society board. I'm the vice president. I've participated in a lot of sports, but my favorite would be field hockey. I was the senior captain this year. I'm also a big science math girl, so I'd have to say my favorite subjects, well, those are my favorite subjects. So my favorite classes would be anatomy and AP Calculus. I just think they're so fun with all the labs we get to do, and especially the great teachers, Mr. Chamberlain and Mr. Wrench. So I'm really excited to talk more about everything I love about MHS.
Yeah, thank you, Leanne, very, very much. And finally, Aileen, welcome tonight. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Bran. Hi, everyone. I'm Aileen. I'm the senior member at large, and I also do 3 sports at the high school: soccer, basketball, and lacrosse. And I've also been a part of student council for all 4 years of high school. And like Leanne, I'm also on the NHS board. I'm the National Honor Society president, and I'm also a part of the math team at MHS too. So there's definitely a lot of different activities for you guys to be involved in here. And I can't wait to answer the rest of you guys' questions throughout the night. And I'm just excited to be here.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, we're really quite excited that you could join us tonight. And I think it's such a great way to end this workshop series. As you know, the fact that we would normally have open houses and tours and all of that, we would bring all the 8th graders up at homecoming. And ultimately, or unfortunately, with what we're all experiencing, those opportunities were just not available. But we really did some thinking about what would be a great way to engage and to reach out to our 8th graders. And so I think it's such an awesome way to end this workshop series with the 5 of you tonight. So I'm just so grateful for your engagement and your story. of your own personal stories of your time here at the high school. So we're going to start. And I think it's important to note the fact that all of our questions tonight actually have come from the class of 2025 and or their parents or guardians. So back in early November, we, the middle school, which we're just so grateful for their partnership, Mrs. Latender and Mrs. Moriarty, and Mrs. Foley as well, for all of their help in making this happen, that they had sent out a survey of asking our 8th graders questions about the high school. What things do you want to know? So a lot of the questions we're going to be asking tonight are all things that come directly from them. So the 5 of you, just so you know that these questions are directly from our 8th graders and maybe their parents and guardians as well. So Mandy, I'm going to start with you tonight, if that's all right. Can you explain a little bit about, like, why did you choose to come to Middleborough High School? And then as a follow-up to that, looking back, are you happy with the decision that you made?
Thank you. Yeah, so I have an older brother who's 3 years older than me. So when I was in 6th grade, he was just starting as a freshman. And we're really close. We've always been close since we were younger. So it was so amazing to see how much fun he was having at the high school and how much he was challenging himself. He would come home from football games that he would attend, different events like the student council lock-in. I was so jealous that he got to go and stay over the whole night at the school. And although we couldn't do it this year, that's one of my favorite parts of student council, and also to see how involved he got in different aspects of the school. He's not a very outgoing person, but once he went to the high school and started taking new classes and joining different clubs and events, I saw how much fun he was having and how much he just really enjoyed the environment. So I always knew that I wanted to go to Middleborough since when I first started middle school, just because I saw how great it was for him. And I was just so excited to be able to get that opportunity to do some of the same things he did and also go in different directions. So my brother, he didn't run for any class officer positions, but my freshman year, I knew that that's something that I wanted to do because I love to get involved. I love to help people and kind of make a change in my own way, because I didn't want to do all the same things that he did, but I could see how the opportunities that he took were good for him. So I'm so glad that I was able to have someone to see how great the high school was for them. And looking back, I would not change one thing. I'm so glad that I came to the high school, and it's become like a second home for me, whether it was going right from school to soccer practices, then back to the school to make posters for different events. I've just had so much fun at this high school, and I don't know what I would do if I didn't come here. And I'm so happy with that decision.
Awesome. Well, that makes me very happy, Mandy.
Yeah,
So
and Brand's the best. So
I appreciate that very, very much. And I know that for Eden and Leanne and Emily, all of you had older siblings that came through the high school as well. But Aileen, I'm going to turn it to you for a minute because you're the oldest in your family. So you were the first one to come to the high school. So I would love to get your perspective of, really, why did you choose to come to MHS? And looking back, is it something you've been really happy with that decision? As we know that probably for Leanne and Emily and Eden, that their siblings might have said a couple of things that kind of gave them a little bit of sense of, I think I know why I want to go there. But for you coming in the door, you were the first one in your family to come through those doors as a student. So I would love to maybe just get some of your feedback about why did you choose to come to the high school and how you feel about that decision now.
Yeah, sure. So unfortunately this year you guys didn't get to come tour the high school, and usually that's a huge aspect of like deciding where you want to go when you're in 8th grade. So automatically the high school, I believe, was the first school that we got to tour in middle school, and as soon as you arrive at the doors, all like the high schoolers that are helping out are there like greeting you outside with like posters and signs and cheering as you walk inside. And to me, that's just like one of the most important parts and reasons why I chose MHS. I feel like a lot of other schools don't really give you like that energy and that spirit that is offered at MHS. And for me, like one of the most important things was just feeling wanted as a student. And I really know that like MHS supports me in all the decisions that I make in school. And I feel like they offer so many different ways for you to take risks and like have different opportunities to step out of your comfort zone. And I feel like having that and the support to do so was a really important part of why I chose it. And I don't regret the decision at all. I'm having the best like time here. And I know, I'm not sure if all of you felt that in middle school, but like when we couldn't go to school for like quarantine in the spring, that was like one of the hardest times because school here is just so much fun. And I feel like that's a really important part because you want to love what you're doing and it kind of motivates you to do better in academics, but also get involved with the community and just kind of grow as a person overall. So I'm really glad that I chose MHS.
Awesome. Well, Aileen, thank you very much for sharing that. And I think as we transition to our next question, Emily, I'm going to have you take on this next question. When we're talking about the choice of coming to the high school, and I know you had an older sister that came through the high school before you, but I would love to hear a little bit about like what was an exciting part for you about transitioning to the high school? What was that experience like in that transition?
So for me, I think the biggest part about transitioning into the high school was the independence and opportunities you get. I know when you transition from the elementary school to the middle school, you really think, wow, it's so different. Like we're not in lines anymore. You can walk down the halls freely. And you think that's a lot of independence. But when you come to the high school, it's a whole new level of taking control of your own life and what you want to do. And you get to choose the opportunities and experiences that you take out of your high school, like the time you spend there. And I think one of the biggest things, the difference for me was being able to choose your own classes. You don't get to do that in middle school, and being able to look through the options you have, especially even the academics, being able to choose your own AP courses, like getting that extra challenge and having that opportunity was something really big for me that I never got to have in the middle school. And all of the art courses, I know I decided to take that, something different, and I really enjoyed that experience, and it's something new. And I think even having you as a principal was something so different to me. I remember I was in the middle school once, and you happened to be there, and my sister was in the high school, and my parents introduced me to you, and I just thought, like, you could just tell how much you loved the school and all the students there. And that just made me feel so welcomed. And whenever I see you in the hall, you always say hi. And the environment is just so nice. And I think it's just a great place to be.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily, for that. And to maybe build from that as well. Leanne, what was the transition for you? What was something exciting for you when you came up to the high school?
I definitely agree with Emily about the independence, but I also think that transitioning to high school made me more confident in myself because the community, like in the school, is just so welcoming. Like everyone's doing their own thing. Like they're gonna dress up for Spirit Day head to toe. Like people are just so welcoming and exciting. Whereas in middle school, like things were kind of like awkward and like you'd walk the halls, you didn't really know anyone. Like I know my principal didn't really know me by name. So I think going into the high school and having like more freedom to be myself and having people there that supported me all the time and independence. And a lot of the people in middle school will tell you that the independence can be a bad thing because you're responsible for like sending in your assignments on time and all that. And while that's true, your teachers aren't going to email you, hey, Leanne, 10 minutes until your assignment's done, like make sure you submit it. They're not going to do that. But they're going to check up on you because they care about you. They'll be like, Leanne, like you haven't sent a couple assignments. Like, are you okay? Is everything all right? So I just really think high school was just a bigger transition than I thought it would be in every possible way. Positively.
Yeah, that's awesome, Leanne. Thank you. And that's when we're talking about how important this transition is. And I think between your comments, Leanne and Emily, it really captures why the transition to high school is so important. And it is such a big moment because there is such an, Emily, I think you captured it when you talked about the transition from elementary to middle school and you were like, oh my goodness. But then the transition from middle school to high school, it's the same. And then when all of you embark on your college and university journey, it's going to be like, oh my goodness, is another big transition. But we know the fact that that independence and that ability to begin really charting your own journey is such an important element of high school. And so now to build from that, I think as we're looking at the exciting part, I think it's also important to look at some challenges as well. And so Eden, I'm gonna kind of point this question to you. When you had transitioned, what was one of the things you thought to be maybe the most challenging for you, the most challenging part about transitioning to the high school?
I would have to say, I feel like the main thing would be that you're in a new building. And I think that's something that everyone is worried about at first is you don't know where you're going to be going. That was my thing. And like, this is really simple, but like, who was I going to sit with at lunch? Because I know in middle school, you're with your grade and with your class, you always have like that person you can sit with. But I think high school is definitely like the change of a new building. You're not eating lunch with your grade, you're eating lunch with every different grade. So you're with like seniors and juniors, which I know I was like really intimidated about. I'd also have to say, kind of off of what Emily and Leanne said for like the exciting part, but also you are like being independent and it's your responsibility to get your work in. Your teachers aren't going to like, it's not your parents' job to remind you to do your work. That's on you. And your teachers are going to treat you like adults, which is like a really good thing, but it's also can kind of be like, oh, I need to get my work done. My parents can't remind me. So it's definitely, you're on your own. You're getting to pick your own classes, which is a really big deal too. So just like understanding that it is a big responsibility going to high school and you kind of have to put it on yourself, and time management is definitely a big thing to have coming into high school and balancing work and also time for yourself. So I'd say the big challenge is like learning your independence and being responsible for your own learning.
Right. Absolutely. And it's interesting of how the independence is exciting, but it also has some challenge to it as well, of just that responsibility of that independence is so important. Maybe, Aileen, anything you would want to build from that in terms of maybe just something to add to that?
Yeah, so when I started my freshman year, I took on a lot because I wanted to get involved in everything. There was so much that the high school had to offer. So automatically I was playing soccer, doing stuff for class board, for student council, and at the same time finding time to go to football games with my friends and decorate for homecoming floats. So definitely I threw myself into everything that I could get involved in. And while that was great, and while I'm so grateful that I did that, it was definitely a little tricky for me in the beginning with time management because I tend to procrastinate a little bit, which I know we all fall victim to that, especially now with online school. But even back when I was a freshman, it was challenging for me to kind of start. I had to start setting deadlines for myself. Like if I knew I had an assignment due on Friday, I try to get as much of it done in the beginning of the week. So once I started working on that, I fell into better routines and a better pattern of getting my work done on time. But that was probably one of the most challenging things, was just understanding like, okay, you want to do all these different things and get involved in everything the high school has to offer. But at the same time, you have to make sure that your schoolwork keeps up with that. So once you kind of get over that first month or so, I would say you'll get into a good pattern of figuring out what time you need to get your stuff done.
Yeah. You know, Mandy, to build from that, I've always said to ninth graders the fact that it's the fresh start, right? But I've always said that there isn't a ninth grader that doesn't have some bumps along the road, especially in that first month or that first quarter of high school. And sometimes the bumps are noticeable because it may be a really hard, maybe the academic maybe isn't where you wanted it to be. And sometimes it could just be to your point of finding your balance a little bit and finding your flow. And I think that no matter who the ninth grader is, that is always something that we talk about in really just that transition and really just finding that groove to yourself of really the time management and the organization and just really the balance between, you know, I'm going to be at practice all afternoon, but then I got to go home and make sure that I do my homework and all of those things. So I'm sure for all of you, even you said the word procrastination, which I think that's something I don't think anyone ever outgrows, to be honest. But I appreciate the candor with that. Our next question, I'm gonna ask Aileen. And Aileen, what do you think? This was one of the questions that came in, and it was really something that I thought was interesting because it was repeated quite often in the survey data that came in from the class of 2025. And one of the things, and I'll ask you the question, it says, what do you think sets MHS apart from other schools?
So I think the main thing, well, at least when I was looking at like all the different options I could go to for schools, I think but one thing that they all had in common is that they do all offer like most of the same extracurriculars. You're going to have the same kind of classes that you get to choose from, and that independence is kind of going to be the same like throughout all the different schools that you get to look at. But at least for MHS, the one thing that set it apart for me was that environment that kind of all of us have touched upon during this call at one point or another. And I think that that just truly speaks to how unique our school is, and how that Bran, any of the teachers, any of the upperclassmen, or even any of the underclassmen are willing to help you out if you have any questions or you like need help with anything in school. And although we aren't going to be seniors when you guys are there, I have 100% confidence knowing that the seniors next year are definitely going to be willing to help you out in any way possible. And for me this year, I got to have a class with freshmen, an academic class, which is like kind of strange because that never happens, but it's just been nice like getting to know them and getting to hear their perspectives. So I feel like that welcoming environment is just one of the main things that sets MHS apart.
Awesome. Thank you, Aileen. Emily, could I saw you kind of nodded in agreement. Is there anything that you could build from that of really just what you think maybe sets our school apart from others?
I strongly agree with everything Aileen said. Not only are the principals and everyone working there welcoming, but also coaches. So if you want to play sport, all of the coaches care so strongly about what they are coaching, and all of us, even if they don't even work at this school, if they're coming from outside, like our basketball coach, I know how much he deeply cares about us, and it really makes a difference. And our teachers especially. I remember, as a personal story, last year I took pre-calculus with Chamberlain, and that was a class I did really struggle with, and it was hard for me, but he took the time to set me aside and tell me, like, come after school and I'll help you and we'll work on this. Like, I know you know this, we just have to work on it. And then my grade just kept getting better. And just having the teachers there to support you and know that they want to see you succeed really is what sets this school aside from the other ones.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that answer. I'm going to move to Leanne, because one of the things we're talking about the transition and about the exciting parts, the challenging parts, but there were some really essential things that people wanted to know. And so, Leanne, I'm going to have you focus on this question. Really, was it hard, or is it easy to become involved in activities and sports at the high school? I know that since we started our kind of conversation tonight, we clearly know that this group is really highly involved in school. And so, but when you started, was it hard to get involved? And then I'm going to ask a follow-up question to Leanne. Is there anything that you wish you had done? Like, was there something that you wish you had become involved with when you're looking back on your journey?
So I think it's fairly easy to get involved with things in the school because we have so many activity fairs where it's as simple as putting your name and number down, and everyone's just so excited to have you there. Like, they're going to text you, they're going to add you to reminds, they're going to post all over social media to make sure you get the information you need. And I've tried a lot of sports in high school, all different years, whether I'd played before, I haven't. And a lot of people think that would be like a challenging thing to do, like going into a sport in high school, you're already 16 and you haven't played before with all these kids that have played for years. But like Emily was saying, the coaches there, they just want you to be successful and they're happy to have you. So I've tried swimming, winter track, lacrosse, field hockey, a lot of it. And I've enjoyed every second of it. Every coach was there to help me, and I never had a bad experience. And even for clubs, everyone is so excited to have you. They're really welcoming. So I signed up for a lot of clubs. I think that looking back, the only thing I regret was not getting more involved in the clubs and activities I signed up for, because you don't want to, like Mandy was saying earlier, you don't want to sign up for too many and tie yourself like short. You want to make sure if you're going to commit to something, you can put all your time and effort into it, so you're not just showing up for 1 or 2 days. So one major thing I would say is student council. Looking back, I wish I went on more of the trips to meet other students from other states and have those experiences. That's something I probably wouldn't have done freshman year because I was afraid to step outside my comfort zone. But looking back, people have made so many good relationships with people and experiences that I wish I had done.
Great. Awesome. You mentioned something, Leanne, that's so important, and I think that opportunity of trying something new and taking that risk almost. And when you said about how you tried a sport that you've never played before in your life, but you went out there and you did it. And I think that's one of the exciting parts about high school is that you start your own story. And so part of that story is really making sure that the chapters that you're writing really have some element to it where you're trying something that you never thought you'd do before. And then when you realize to some extent that you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm loving every minute of it, whether it be that sport or the play or whatever it could be. Eden, would you mind if I brought you into the conversation on this particular question of just in regards to involvement and anything that you wish you had done when you looking back on your experience?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like for how easy it is to get into activities, I know I mentioned the activities fair, and although we couldn't have it this year because of COVID, but in the past, it's all the clubs, all the sports, we all gather in the gym and everyone has their own table. And it's always a really big thing. Everyone's yelling and cheering and they want you to come to their table. They want you to sign up. They'll have back and forth kind of yelling fights with other teams, trying to persuade people to come over. So it's definitely very easy to get involved in things because everyone's so welcoming, as Leanne said. Everyone wants you to join. Everyone wants you to try everything. I'd have to say something that I might wish I did was That's Entertainment. My sister did it when she was in high school, and it always seemed like such a fun show to be a part of. And I know a lot of people that didn't always be in shows would do that one. And so I feel like definitely would have been taking part in That's Entertainment my senior year.
Absolutely. When you are approaching the end of your senior year, we will do a senior meeting. And one of the things that I ask all the seniors is are you graduating with any regret? And that's something we share then with the upcoming ninth graders of these are the voices of the people who just left us and graduated. And these are the things either they did everything they wanted to and then some, or gosh, I really wish I had done this, or I wish I tried this. And so I think part of the conversation is for these eighth graders is to realize as you are coming up to the high school is to really do that exploration of the numerous opportunities there are up here in regards to activities and sports and all of that. Anything to add from Emily or Aileen or Mandy of just something in regards to the opportunities in the clubs or anything you think would be important to add? No. All right. I know that when we were chatting about, I know Mandy and I were talking just recently about just really the importance of how many clubs and the diversity of the clubs. Everything from speech and theater workshop to our key club and our honor societies to our GSA. There's just really something for everyone that is up here. So for the eighth graders, you'll have an opportunity when you come up here in the summertime to be able to engage in those activities. And as Leanne said, put your name down on a piece of paper and the rest is history from there. So Mandy, I'm going to shift the gears because we talked a lot about, or there was conversation or questions about, I want to know more about activities and opportunities and all of that. But then there's also another really important concept, which really I think is critical in regards to any high school, is really the academics that are offered and really the experience. And I know that for all of you, you've all mentioned in some way, shape, or form courses that you have loved and content areas that you have really just thrived in. But I really would like to just, Mandy, for you to begin of talking really about your academic experience and really when you think about your journey as a ninth grader to where you are now, what has the experience been like and has it satisfied what you were hoping to get out of it?
Yeah, definitely. So starting out as a freshman, I decided to take all honors courses because I definitely knew that I wanted to challenge myself at the high school. And I knew that if I put myself up for a challenge, I'd be able to work through it, especially when you have so many great teachers and guides along the way. I remember I became really close with a lot of my freshman year teachers. One of my favorite teachers was Mrs. May Beaton, and she was my history teacher freshman year. And I remember that class was so much fun because I was able to learn the content. A few of you were in the class with me while also kind of getting more comfortable with the whole transition from middle school to high school, not only was we had talked about before with different activities you could take, but it was really great to know I always had a teacher I could go to if I needed help with anything. And then as I transitioned into my sophomore year, I decided to take AP Seminar, which was a course that we offered at the high school. And I loved that class because it was a small class size and I was able to really just explore different ways of research. And that's one of the classes where we would write research papers, conduct surveys throughout the school. And I still use that same format. I remember I had Mrs. Cobb as my teacher, and she taught me how to cite in MLA format, and I have never forgotten it since then. So that's helped me my junior year and my senior year. So there are so many different routes you can take at the high school. And then as I got older, towards my junior year, I started to realize that I loved math and I loved science, and I definitely wanted to do something in that field when I was older. So Emily had talked about earlier how with responsibility, you also can pick your own classes that you'd like to take. So this was kind of the year that I started exploring those aspects of my academic life. So my for my AP classes, I decided to take calculus and chemistry, and I also took AP Lang as my English course. And I had Mrs. Gleavy my junior year, and she's one of the best teachers I've ever had, because not only are your teachers there for you to teach a lesson or talk about a certain subject, but they're also there for you in your own lives. And they were always checking in on me and making sure that I was doing okay. I remember in the beginning of my junior year, I had a sports injury where I had a concussion, and both Mr. Chamberlain, who was my calculus teacher, and Miss Gleavy were there for me through every step of the way, and they would check in on me every day and really just make sure that I was staying up to date with the content. And also my junior year and senior years when you can start kind of branching out different ways. So some of my friends took joint classes at Massasoit where they would take a business class or a childhood education class. And that's one thing that I always wish that I had made time in my schedule to do. And also one thing you can do is take an independent study with a certain teacher. So I was honored my junior year, I got to take an independent study with my math teacher, Mr. Chamberlain, and he would help me review different things about calculus. And also I was able to start studying for SATs. And this year, I had an independent study with Mr. Brannigan, which was such a great experience. And I got to work on different things through student council and also in my own academic life. So I think that there are so many different routes you can take. I definitely took one that was more math, science, and this year I'm taking AP biology, but there are so many different ways you can go. And I know some of you guys took AP US history, and I don't know if you had wanted to talk about that route of things, but whatever you want to do at the high school, there's definitely a place for you to find where you want to go.
Great. Mandy, thank you. I know you had mentioned the fact that when you came up to the high school that you took all honors courses. And one of the things we had talked about with the 8th graders last week was really about how you have to make those decisions about what is really important for you. And one of the things that we talked about was really helping to find that balance. So for you to choose all those honors courses, it was really that decision that you and your family made, that because you knew that was right for you. And so for the rest of the group here, what would be some things that you would add in terms of just the academic experience that you've had in your journey? Hi, Aileen.
For me personally, I took a lot of the same classes as Mandy, but there were also like some other ones that were definitely wicked fun. And that same teacher Mandy had mentioned, Miss May Beaton, I had her last year for AP Psychology. And that was probably one of my favorite classes ever that I've taken at the high school, just because it connects so much to like our daily life. Like we got to do a whole thing where we did like a senses lab and got to like do different taste and like hearing and all that like experiments. And then you get to take languages at the high school too, which is one of the other like wicked fun things. And I know all the teachers there are super nice, and learning a language is just so cool, and it gives you kind of a whole new perspective. and also with like chemistry and probably anatomy and physiology too, and any of the science classes, you get to take more like advanced labs where you get to do experiments. And there's a lot of just most of the academics at the high school are more hands-on, and they really give you that real world experience that is kind of going to help you for the rest of your academic career beyond high school, and kind of just in your life in general too. And I think that's like one of the main things that really made academics fun for me at the high school. And there's just so many different opportunities, whether you want to get involved in art or computers. Like freshman year and sophomore year, and this year I'm doing an independent study. I got involved with television production, and that was probably one of the best decisions that I've ever made, because it gave me like the creative freedom to make videos that I wanted to, and just to learn all about like filming, shooting, and editing. And that was just one of the best experiences that I had at the high school too. So all the hands-on stuff is just really one of the best parts about getting to go to MHS. And academics has really been an important part of my life at MHS, as well as the extracurriculars. They kind of both balance each other out.
You know, Aileen, I would
meaningful way.
say to you the fact that you said something about how the academics and the activities kind of go hand in hand. And one of the things that there's so much research out there that talks about the more that students do in high school, the more high school makes sense. And so when you made that comment about how the involvement that you've had, and also with the academic life that you've led, everything just kind of flows together, and everything just kind of connects in some degree, even though that maybe the activity you're doing really doesn't have anything to do with your AP calculus class, but it's just school makes sense. And that's why there's such a cool message you just shared, Aileen, about the importance of really finding those activities, but then also really finding your passions as well to build from, because that's really what high school's about. You have your course things you need to do, but there's also those opportunities to kind of develop and to grow and to explore. Anyone, just before we close this question, anyone wanted to add anything? Eden, I'm going to put you on the spot if it's all right, Eden. Anything to add in terms of really just kind of your journey and the academic piece?
I feel like, as like everyone said, there's so many options for different academics. So if you're more like your junior and senior year, if you're more interested in say like the sciences, or I know some people like there's art, like there's AP art, which is it's not science or math, but you're able to like there's so many options of different courses. And I know some of the levels we have is like we have CP, which is like college prep, we have honors, we have AP, and then we have AB Calc and then BC Calc. So there's so many different levels, so you can challenge yourself. I know my freshman year I took all honors except for English. I took CP because that was something that I struggled with, and then it like boosted me right up, and then I was back taking all honors. So definitely just all different levels you can take, and you can take that chance to like challenge yourself no matter what.
So I think I think, Eden, it's so important what you just shared, because for an eighth grader getting ready to begin their transition to the high school, then you could take a schedule that's all honors. You could take a schedule that's all college preparatory. You could have a little bit of both. That if you really love math and you love science, then maybe those would be the areas that maybe you do take that honors level. But maybe that history or the English may be an area where that you really just kind of maybe having that college preparatory piece wouldn't be a bad thing to start with. But the one thing about the high school is that you can move between levels. So, you may start off in a college preparatory, like for yourself, Eden, as you shared, but then for 10th grade, you were able to make the move into honors grade 10 English without a challenge at all. And so it's really important for our 8th graders to know the fact that there is flexibility and there's the ability to move. And you could start off taking a college preparatory course, and you could be in an advanced placement course by the time you're in junior and senior year as well. And what's exciting is that this is the first year we're offering a 9th grade advanced placement course in human geography with Mr. Smith. So it is the first year we've run the class. And that is the one AP that is open to grade 9. And then in grade 10, it opens up even more with AP statistics with Mr. Cutler. And then it even goes from there beyond that, especially in grades 11 and 12 where the gates blow open for you to be able to engage in all of those courses as well. And especially one thing I'll just add before we move on, that in the 9th grade, you'll have your core content areas, but also it's an opportunity for you to engage in the arts, in your band and chorus, in theater, the technology program, as Aileen had mentioned, television production. So there is an array of opportunity when you start to build your schedule. You'll have your English, you'll have your math, you'll have your science, you'll have your history. You probably will have one of the world languages, as Aileen mentioned, Spanish or French or Russian. And then the rest of your schedule is built with things that are interest for you. So if you are in the band, you want to continue with that and make sure you sign up for band. So I appreciate those responses from you tonight. But Emily, I'm going to move over to you with one of our final questions for tonight. Is there anything that you would have done differently if you could have started this journey all over again? So thinking back on where you are, you're getting ready to begin or end or to start your final semester of high school in late January, early February. Is there anything that you would have done differently if you could have done the journey all over again?
So for me personally, I don't have a lot of regrets coming to the end of my 4 years, but the one thing I did wish I did differently is get more involved in the arts. I know they allow AP Art. That's one of the classes you can take. And I think last year I took an art class, and as a sophomore I took an art class, and I took calligraphy last year as well. And I just feel those were the times where I felt the most me at the school, and I really enjoyed taking them, and I wish I dove deeper into that experience and took an AP Art. But besides that, I chose to get involved, and you can only go through high school once, and that would be something I'd just like to share is even if you're nervous coming in freshman year running for a class position, that's something really scary, and I understand that, but just really get involved. That's so big, and to make sure to challenge yourself. AP courses may seem really scary, but all of the teachers know exactly what they're teaching and they're there to help you. So just don't be scared, be yourself, and this is a time to start new, as you said. And so if you went through middle school being super quiet and not really getting involved in anything, this is the time to change that and just take a risk, and everyone's going to be there to support you with what you choose. So just don't be scared to try something new.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. Leanne, I'm going to have you build from that, if it's okay. If you could go through this experience again, is there anything that you would have done differently or to do all over?
Kind of going off of what Emily said, I would have stepped out of my box earlier. I started to do the things I really wanted to do in my junior year, like run for a board position and play different sports. And that's something I'd always wanted to do. So that might not relate to everybody, but that's something I've always wanted to try since going into high school. I always thought that was interesting, but I never had the courage to do it until a couple years later. So I think definitely if you know there's something you want to do, to just go for it from the start. No one's there to judge you on like what you might think, and you might get a lot out of it than you would think you would. So definitely just step out of your box and
chart your own story, right? And chart your own kind of journey of it. And that's one of the exciting things about high school, is that it is a fresh start. And very few times in life do I think we get to have that experience. And so I think when you can do it, you want to make sure that you finish the journey and make sure there's nothing that you've regretted. I wish I did that, or I should have. Those words should be never something that is said at the end of your senior year. So I appreciate that. Eden, I'm going to turn over to you for one of our final questions tonight. Do you regret your decision to come to MHS? And I know that's kind of a yes or no answer, but really just, is it, when you look back on the experience, do you have any regret about your decision to come?
I have no regrets at all. I'm so happy that I came to MHS, and I've been extremely successful, as well as I've learned a lot about myself. Definitely coming into high school, you kind of figure out who you are in a way, and your friends and what you want to do in like your life. I've also made lasting friendships with my friends and teachers, that bonds that last a lifetime. Like some of my freshman teachers I'm still close with, and I'll see them in the hallway and they'll check in with me. I don't have classes with them anymore. We're still able to hold a super long conversation. Some of my teachers will like text me that I had freshman year, like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "Good. We'll talk about quarantine." It's definitely, I've also learned how to advocate for myself and my learning because, as we said, it's like your responsibility to take care of your own self. And it's definitely, I've gone through times where like AP courses, they can be very language based, which is something that I find challenging in certain classes. It's definitely being able to speak up to your teacher, which can be scary, but be like, hey, I might need these notes in advance, or could you like explain it to me in a different way? So I definitely learned how to advocate for myself through MHS and teacher support. And I've also been able to choose the career in physical therapy, which I've already been accepted into 4 different schools to go through to get my doctors, which is really crazy. But I would not have been able to do that without MHS and the support from all the teachers. And yeah.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Eden. Congratulations on those acceptances. Mandy, maybe just to build from that, any regret?
I really have had no regrets. It's so amazing to see. I don't know about you guys, but I'll look through my old photos or my memories, and it's so crazy to see how much I've changed over the course of high school, but how much I've changed for the better. Like Eden was saying, I've learned how to advocate for myself. I just really feel like Middleborough has helped shape me into the person I am today. And I don't know what I would have done if I didn't come here. I've built so many lifelong relationships with friends, teachers, and just everybody that you meet along the way through student council or anything. I've just met so many amazing people and learned so much about myself. And I'm so happy that I chose to come to MHS, and I really hope that all of you guys make that same decision.
Great. Thank you, Mandy. So to ask our final question, I'm going to start with Aileen. And I'd like it to be something that you all just kind of give a kind of a quick statement, maybe, of really words of wisdom, of really maybe why that the 8th graders that are maybe watching tonight, or those 8th graders who may watch this at a later time, are really doing some thinking about what their next chapter will be. So maybe some words of wisdom as they're making this decision and why MHS should be their home. So Aileen, I'm going to start with you if that's okay.
Sure. So for me, if someone told me freshman year, or even as an 8th grader, that I would have to go on this live video call and speak to like hundreds of students or anyone else or parents who else is watching this, I probably would have like started freaking out and been really nervous and not wanted to do it at all. But I think like what everyone has been talking about this whole time is that MHS really gives you that environment and atmosphere in order to develop your own voice and kind of follow the path that you want to. So high school is all about that fresh start and that new journey that you guys get to embark on. And it's really an exciting time for you guys to start to figure out who you are, what you like, what you don't like. And at least for like academics and extracurriculars, like there's so much for you to get involved in and really take advantage of all of those different opportunities, because it's allowed me personally to grow so much as a person. And I have truly think that MHS in choosing that has been a part of it. I feel confident now to get up here and talk about my journey as a high schooler and to kind of share that voice. So you all have a voice and we all want to hear it. And it's just an important part of like finding that and getting the confidence and support from all the other people around you to be able to do that. And MHS has really allowed me to do that. And I think it would definitely allow you to build your own path and kind of become a better person and grow too.
Awesome. Aileen, thank you so much. Emily, your words of wisdom to the class of 2025.
I really just have to agree with what Aileen said. MHS is where you're going to find your path, so be bold while doing it. I have a twin sister, and we've grown up doing the same things, having the same friends, playing the same sports, so we really feel like we are the same person. But when we went to MHS, this is where we found our different paths and what we are passionate about, and it's the opportunities that the school gave us is how we found it. My sister started as a freshman into photography and filming, and taking that class is what she found that she wants to do for the rest of her life, and that's her path, and she's super passionate about it, and I'm going a different way, and it's because of the school. is how we found that. And I just can't thank all the staff and everyone that works there for everything that they have put into this school, because that's really who I am now.
Thank you, Emily. Leanne, your words of wisdom.
I would say to really just come into school with an open mind and make sure you challenge yourself. And like I said earlier, to step outside of your comfort zone. Like Aileen was saying, if you had told me I would be here talking in front of all these people and on all these different boards and taking all these AP classes, I'd probably think you were crazy and that I could never do that. But I came into the school and I wanted to challenge myself, and there was always someone by my side to support me. So don't be afraid that you're going to struggle alone, because there's always someone there to help you. So really just challenge yourself and make the most out of the time you have here.
Awesome. Leanne, thank you. Eden, your words of wisdom.
I know everyone says it too, but the time flies by. I'm sure everyone can agree that it's crazy that we're already graduating. So definitely take like the chances, and I'd say cherish all the time. Like high school can be really stressful at different times, and I know that I kind of wish sometimes that I didn't stress that much over the little things and hang out more with friends and get more involved with like school events, rather than be like, oh, I need to be home and studying for something that would like be like 2 weeks away. Always stress over like the small things. So definitely cherish the time, and don't always like take time for yourself, go and have fun, because you don't want your high school, you don't want to look back in high school and be like, oh, I spent the majority of my time like stressing. You want to be making memories and have fun with your high school, because you only, as Emily said, you only get to have high school once. It's time to make memories.
Awesome. Eden, thank you so much. And Mandy, the final thoughts and the words of wisdom.
Yeah, definitely. I would just say, if you have even the slightest bit of thought that you want to get involved in something, just do it. Just try it, because you're never going to be able to be 16, 17, 18 again and be able to try new things in such a welcoming and comfortable environment. I know I remember there were times my freshman, sophomore, junior year, even this year, where I would think, oh, I can't wait for this day to be over. Or if you are tired and you're not in a great mood, I can't wait for school to end or for the next week or something. But looking back on it, we're never going to get this time back. And definitely just don't take any memory or anything for granted, because I know that as we're coming up on our last semester of high school, which is still so crazy to me, I know I would give anything to just have to make the most of all the time that we have left. So definitely, I would say just make the most of every moment you get at the high school, because it really is an amazing place.
Great. Well, to the five of you, I'm so grateful for your time tonight and for sharing your journey and your path, and for our audience tonight and for people who may be viewing this at a later time. This was not scripted, so they had their questions, and ultimately that their answers are candid, and I'm very appreciative of their honesty about their journey. So to our 8th graders and your parents and your guardians, we will be in touch after the holiday break, and probably around late January, early February, as we will begin the process of you meeting your school counselors. So that will be the person who you will work with for your high school career, and they will be the ones helping you start to create your new schedule for the high school. So when you come up in the 9th grade. But to everyone tonight, to just note the fact that you can reach out anytime with any questions. And to the 5 of you, our school is the way that it is because of you. And so your leadership of this class and the leadership of our school is really paramount to what you have done. And I've always believed you leave the place better than you found it. And I can say that with your leadership, you most certainly have. So just a thank you to all of you for that. So with that being said, to all of our families that were joining us tonight, on behalf of the entire high school community, we bid you farewell and good night. And thanks for the consideration of becoming a sachem. We're really excited about help welcome you home to your new home of the new high school. And we'll see you very soon. Have a wonderful night.